There are few genres that work as well together as roguelikes and card games. Since card games are inherently random, the roguelike elements simply expand the concept to the next level. It has resulted in some massive hits, most notable being Slay the Spire and Balataro, with a number of newcomers trying their luck. Among them is Shuffle Tactics, which boasts complicated mechanics with a simplistic art style. With hundreds of cards, 3 playable characters, and multiple different ways to play, is it a recipe for success, or should we shuffle the deck again?
It starts with a glimmer.
There really isn't much to say about Shuffle Tactics' narrative. The basic gist is a curse known as the Glimmer has impacted the kingdom, resulting in a quest to commit regicide. Most of the lore is explained through the vendor's optional dialogue. Each offers their own take on a wide variety of themes, all told through their unique outlook. It won't be for everyone, though with the recent rise of people who enjoy this style of storytelling, it certainly has a place. Shuffle Tactics starts with a brief tutorial that explains the fundamentals, things like how to move the camera, movement, and defeating enemies. Once completed, there is a surprisingly high learning curve, with each player having their own distinct play style, coupled with multiple variations. It will take some trial and error to get the hang of things. In a general sense, Dober Knight is a melee attacker, Fletch acts as a ranger with support functionality, and Catalina is a mage. Success ultimately hinges on how well one understands the core gameplay loop. Perhaps the easiest to explain is Fletch's Curving Shot. Fletch will always start with a Curving Shot in hand, a card that deals 2 damage to an enemy. It also has the ability to bounce off enemies hitting multiple targets in a single use. This pairs well with Ricochet Device, an item Fletch can summon that acts both as a defense and something to reflect projectiles. From here, the core loop gets increasingly complicated. With the Curving Shot deck, you'll receive High Shot, Second Wind, Keen Eye, Ricochet Device, Scatter Shot, and Perform cards. Between these are a total of 9 keywords that you need to be aware of. I won't get into all of them, and just say the idea is to summon platforms and leverage Ricochet devices to your advantage. This is because High Shot does an additional 5 damage when elevated, which standing on a platform will accomplish. Bounce and Ricochet devices will allow Fletch to hit enemies at a great range, or in other locations without losing high ground. And this is probably the easiest loop to implement and explain. While I have nothing against pushing for a more complicated game, I don't think a lot of the keywords are intuitive. Some are obvious, like bleed or bounce, and make sense upon reading. I doubt anyone is surprised High Ground 5 gives 5 bonus damage for being on higher ground. Where it gets tricky are things like Keen Eye. I'd assume that has something to do with critical hits, but it gives ranged attacks additional range? I'm not sure what sadistic invokes for you, but for me it does not mean dealing additional damage to enemies at half health or less. Another example is Exhaust, which means you remove it from your deck for this battle once it's been played. It just doesn't have the same simplicity as a term like Exile, which is something similar in Magic the Gathering. And I really don't want to pick on Shuffle Tactics for terms it clearly defines in-game, but it makes playing exhausting. And I mean in the more traditional sense, that it's a lot to take in, especially when there are well over 300 cards, though realistically, it might cause the game's definition to hold true too. I am honestly surprised by how many minor issues are present in Shuffle Tactics. It just further exasperates the learning curve to the point where it becomes an outright frustrating experience. One of the biggest for me was the camera. During the tutorial, they explained the middle mouse button and WASD can control the camera. I couldn't get it to work with any of the various mice I have. Not a huge deal as it features controller support. However, the right thumbstick doesn't seem to do anything. It also shifts forward to top down when pushing back on the left thumbstick. Not only is that an odd placement choice, I'll constantly cycle between these two visual styles anytime I move in that direction. But it's not all bad because I was told it supports Steam Deck. I don't own one, but I do own a ROG Ally that should work all the same. And, as you can see, both controller issues are still present. It also isn't my controls as I can jump right into Destiny 2 and it works exactly how I expect it to. It also registers touch inputs, but doesn't allow for touch inputs. I don't know why it's the worst of both worlds, though ideally it will be fixed at some point. I also couldn't find a listing that simply explained what the controls were. Maybe there is a combination of keys or something else, but I have no way of knowing without endlessly trying things. Now, to be clear, I did reach out to Club Sandwich about this particular issue. I do hope it's something specific on my setup, or they follow up with some kind of fix. In the event I hear something, I will provide an update. Hey, so before writing and recording this review, I reached out to Club Sandwich, the developer of the game, to see if they had any information and insight on the camera. Basically, I got a message from them afterwards telling me that WASD and control on the keyboard are just the only way to control things currently. Not the best, but at least I can give solid information besides what I think and feel. Beyond the camera was a number of relatively minor issues that made the experience far more annoying than it needed to be. One of the biggest examples is the skip button on the reward screen. I don't know what people expect to happen. I personally assumed it would just auto-collect rewards, but it's actually a reward opt-out. I suppose this is good if you don't want a partner or additional resources, but they could at least add an indicator. It is especially annoying when opening packs, as the reward is one of the 3 cards. Opting out of selecting a card actually has a benefit. I just wish it was more clear what you're doing. Speaking of opening items, anytime this happens there is a prompt to mash items on the screen. The problem is some items don't have a delay, meaning I would accidentally select the middle item. This should be solved by adding a delay, or allowing me to mash anywhere. Just an oddly poor choice. And then there are things like obstacles. This situation actually made me kinda laugh. I used a bow attack, didn't read the message telling me it would be blocked, and had my blast blocked. That's fine. Making dumb choices is how I learned not to make dumb choices. Following that, I hid behind the wall to prevent an enemy from attacking me, and they hit me through the wall. This adds a layer of making seemingly clever choices, but having unexpected outcomes happen. At least I don't like that certain attacks will be blocked, whereas other attacks will not be, with the same logic applying to enemies without a clear way to tell if this is a good or bad play. A consistent choice would make it far easier to make better tactical decisions, but I digress. In a lot of ways, I'm happy to say Shuffle Tactics offers a demo. I imagine a lot of the things that annoy me will be corrected in the future, and the demo makes it easy to see if the gameplay loop will resonate with you. I think that is the best way to gauge if the experience is ultimately for you, because at the end of the day, the core loop doesn't really change. New tactics and challenges appear, sure, but if you enjoy the tactical nature, you'll almost certainly like the full game. And if you don't, well, more of the same won't make a difference. Plus, I've seen the developer respond to his feedback on Steam. It really has the potential to be something special for a very specific subset. It just depends on how it plays out long term. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, and for more content, please subscribe.